Hey, what's up guys? Battle Athlete here with my top 10 racing games of all time. Now a couple of rules first. 1, no Kart Racers. So that means no Mario Kart, no Sonic All-Stars Racing Transformed. Also, rule number 2, we're going to limit it to 1 per series. So only 1 Need for Speed game, 1 Forza game. That way we can get a better variety out of the top 10 list. You know, I don't want like a whole list of Forza and Need for Speed games. It's boring. Also, remember this is my personal list, so if you don't see a game on there, like the obvious one I know everyone's gonna say, you know what? You can take it and shove it straight up your... Number 10! Burnout Revenge on Xbox 360. One of the first things you'll notice about this game is the crashes are absolutely insane. You make a guy hit a wall and it's like, BAM! You hit a wall and you're like, ah, shit! And then then there's this music. The soundtrack in this game is just so full of energy. You're just like... Utilizing a high-risk, high-reward mechanic that had you filling your NOS gauge through drifting, nearly missing traffic, hitting jumps, and taking out other racers, you got this adrenaline rush trying to keep the speed up. The car selection was not the greatest, and the only thing you could quote-unquote customize on your car was the color. And only with a handful of different tracks to race on, it was a good thing they had different modes like Road Rage, Eliminator, Traffic Attack, Burning Lap, Crash, and your typical race event. But even with its shortcomings, this game is still as much fun as it was the first day as it is now. You think it would be dated, but the graphics still stand up, and the fun still stands up. And that's why it's my number 10 slot for best racing games of all time. Number 9. FZero on N64. Probably not too surprising that this made the list, considering it's on most top 10 racing games lists, and with good reason. Driving insanely fast hover cars at breakneck speeds trying to compete in a space Grand Prix? Sign me the funk up! And with 30 racers to choose from, each with their own particular vehicle and different colors for each one, there was a racer for everybody. But most people, I think, just chose Captain Falcon. Personally, I like to choose James McCloud, which is the human version of Fox from Star Fox on Super NES. If you haven't checked out Game Trailer's Pop Fiction episode on Star Fox coming to the F-Zero universe theory, it's worth checking out. It's pretty awesome. After the first lap, you unlock a boost ability that gives you more speed at the cost of your armor. So if you're on a more technical course, you may need to save that armor to take a few hits. But if you're on a really speedy course that's easy to navigate, you might want to just go ham and just use all of your armor to boost. Now, we haven't had an F-Zero game since F-Zero GX on GameCube, unless you want to count the F-Zero minigame in Nintendo Land on the Wii U. Which, I don't count that. No, I don't think so. I'd say we're long overdue for another F-Zero game, Nintendo. Please. It's number 8! Sega Rally Revo. Revo? Sega Rally Revo. Battle! Why Sega Rally Revo? It's just a simple arcade racer, right? False! At a glance, Sega Rally Revo might appear to be a simple arcade racer. Well, that's because it is, but there's more to it than that. Sega Rally Revo is one of the first games to feature surface deformation, which means as you drive around the track, the surface changes. An example would be if you were driving on a muddy course and you drove the same line every time, you'll notice that the mud pits get deeper and deeper and filled with more water, which is going to slow you down. Whereas if you drive on a snowy course and you drive the same line, there's going to be less snow, which means more traction and less resistance for you to pick up speed. Now the cars don't get damaged, but as you drive around the course, your car will get covered in dirt and mud. If you splash through water, chunks of mud will come off. If you're driving through a snowy area, your car will get covered in ice and snow. It's actually even cooler than the car taking damage. With a decent number of cars to choose from and unlockable paint jobs, there's actually a lot to do in this game. You'll find yourself wanting to unlock all of the different paint jobs for every car, and each car drives a little differently, but not too differently to where you wouldn't be able to drive it. That's where it being a simple arcade racer comes into play. It's really simple, but also lots of fun at the same time. You can pick this game up in a bargain bin or used for $5, maybe $7. I have seriously bought this game used for at least 2 or 3 friends of mine, just to get them to play it so we can play online. Just like the surface deformation in the game, there's more than meets the eye in the surface of this great racer. Oh my god, can we please, just next game please? It's number 7! Xtreme G Racing Association. Now everybody knows Xtreme G and Xtreme G2 on Nintendo 64, and maybe even Xtreme G3 on PS2. But nobody ever talks about Xtreme G Racing Association, which I thought was the best one out of the bunch. Now I'm sure everybody here has seen the movie Akira, right? Yeah? Anybody? No? It's fucking sweet, go watch it. It stars Kaneda, the member of a bike gang in a futuristic city, who's got the sickest fucking motorcycle you've ever seen in your life. Ever since I first saw this movie, I've wanted that bike. But I guess the best I could do is play it in a video game. And herein lies the concept of Xtreme G. Take one Wipeout, one F-Zero, and Kaneda's bike from Akira, you get Xtreme G. Another thing that separates Xtreme G Racing Association from the first 3 games is how they try to bring the world to life. Other racers respond back to you mid-race when you attack them via codec. Your pit crew lets you know how good or bad you're doing each lap. They even have an announcer give some background to each track before the race starts, helping you get a sense of lore to this futuristic world. Also, these bikes are fast. Once these babies hit 750 miles per hour,
you're gonna see some serious shit.
Once these babies hit 750 miles per hour, you break the sound barrier. All sounds are mute. All you can hear is the music. Which, by the way, this game's soundtrack is amazing. I still go back and just listen to the soundtrack on its own. It gets me so hyped. Now, unfortunately, this was the last game in the series because Acclaim has gone bankrupt since then. But I'd love to see the series come back in some form or another, whether it's Xtreme G or a new IP. Just bring the concept of futuristic bike racing back. Also, make Kaneda and his bike an unlockable character. If Smash can get Cloud, you can get Kaneda in Xtreme G. Make it happen. Number 6! San Francisco Rush 2049. The first San Francisco Rush was a huge hit, namely because of its over-the-top crazy shortcuts, which usually got you killed. But in the third installment, they decided to give you wings! Because you're in the future, and yeah, I guess this is the closest we're ever going to get to flying cars, right? With cars with wings popping out the side? Is that the best we can do? With your wings, you can finally adjust yourself mid-air so that way you could actually take some of these shortcuts without blowing up. Or you could just do a million barrel rolls until you exploded into a fiery mess. Now, there was only a few tracks, but each track was a lot of fun to explore, and I think the developers knew this because they hid coins in each track, encouraging you to explore and unlock more tracks, cars, and parts. They also knew how much fun it was to just fly through the air doing barrel rolls and flips and then crashing in a fiery explosion because they added a stunt mode where you could pretty much, crash to your heart's content. With local multiplayer up to 4 players, you and 3 other friends could do races, stunts, or a special battle mode which played like Vigilante 8. One of my fondest memories of this game is collecting all the coins on the stunt courses with a friend. It was really frustrating barely missing these coins in the air, but when we finally got it, it was totally worth it. Here's hoping that the year 2049 is as cool as this game, but I'm not holding my breath. Number 5. Getting halfway through our list, it's Blur on PS3 and Xbox 360. Taking a stab at the Mario Kart formula, Blur is about as close as we're going to get to a kart racer on this list. In fact, Blur's whole advertisement campaign and slogan was quote-unquote race like a big boy, even going as far as to have a commercial with Mario Kart-esque characters in it.
Lame. Oh. Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Racing's not about winning, it's about making friends.
Shut it, Pinky.
Blur, race like a big boy.
Now the difference between Mario Kart and Blur is that Mario Kart's more random and Blur's a little bit more strategic. Items you pick up in Mario Kart are randomized, whereas the item layout in Blur is always the same every lap, so you know where to go to get what item depending on the situation that you're in. You can hold up to 3 power-ups and switch between the one you need to currently use, or dump the ones that you know are worthless and you're not going to use at all. I'm looking at you, Barge. The replay value for this game was really high, with up to 4 players locally and up to 20 racers online. With a leveling system up to 50, it got pretty addicting. Sadly, this was Bizarre Creations' last game. I blame it on the fact that it came out the same day as Split Second, which was backed by Disney, so you know the advertising was ridiculous. And for the record, I hate that game. You know what, that's a rant for another day.
Racing's not about winning, it's about making friends.
Shut it, Pinky.
Number 4. Midnight Club Los Angeles. This game oozes street racing. It's like Rockstar wanted to make a love letter to street racing fans in the form of Midnight Club Los Angeles. In fact, I had been talking to C. Reddy of High Boost Racing Club on YouTube about this game, and he went on to say, "It's what started to create my club HRC and inspired me to do what I do now in terms of virtual street racing videos. I think till this day it has one of the most varied, tasteful customization options and selection of cars, next to Need for Speed in the category of street racing games." The customizations in this game were so crazy that you could actually upload your design for other players to rate or even buy with in-game money. In fact, the first week that this game was out, I had designed an Eclipse with a Sonic the Hedgehog paint job that was rated #1 for at least a few days. Everyone was purchasing it, so I ended up making a couple $1 million in a few days, so money was never an issue for me while playing this. Messing with the cops in this game was one of my favorite things to do. You could actually pull over to the side of the road, acting like you were going to let them give you a ticket, only to peel out and leave them in the dust.
Update my 20. Stand by. But get this.
The story mode is also really down to earth. You're just a guy that comes into town and wants to street race, and through racing you network and meet new people.
Book doesn't need a stage. People laugh at him just walking down the street.
Whatever you say, Nikolai. Your girlfriend found me funny.
She did. She was confused, wondering why you dressed like you're playing golf.
Cole! Man, shut up, y'all.
The game did have a few flaws though. Sometimes textures wouldn't load, the loading times were really long, but that doesn't stop this game from being one of the best racing games I've ever played. Number 3. Tokyo Xtreme Racer 3. This game has some of the worst music I've ever heard in a video game. The graphics are not that impressive, even for a PS2 game. Traffic is the same yellow van with official written on the back, and it even has game-breaking glitches and bugs that prevent you from even completing the game. Even the cover art for this game looks like some crappy third-party game that your aunt would buy for you as a last-minute birthday gift while she was shopping at Kohl's. So why in the hell is this number 3 in a top 10 best racing games of all time list? Well, let me tell you. This is one of those games where you have to go beyond the surface. There's so much more depth to this game than just graphics and music. This game revolves around street racing and highway pulls, heavily inspired by the anime and manga known as Wangan Midnight, which was kind of the Initial D before Initial D. The thing that made this game special is that it wasn't just simply a racing game, it was sort of a combination between an adventure game and a fighting game. You comb the highways of Tokyo, Nagoya, and Osaka looking for rival street racing crews to race. When you find them, you flash your lights at them just like you would if you're an actual street race. Much like Street Fighter, you and your opponent both have a health bar. When your opponent's health bar drops to 0,
You win.
your health bar slowly drains depending on how far your opponent is ahead of you. It also goes down when you hit traffic or run into walls, which encourages you to take turns carefully and dodge traffic, instead of just laying into the wall going 200 miles an hour. The attention to detail as far as gameplay goes is what really makes this game shine. With different weather conditions that would actually affect the driving, like thunder, rain, snow, there would be wear and tear on the tires where you'd start to lose grip the longer you were out racing. Certain cars had a boost ability that would push the engine to its limit, but you wanted to use it sparingly because then your car would start to overheat and you would lose a lot of speed. And if you ever needed to make some adjustments or let your car cool off or change your tires, you could take an exit, park and make some adjustments before you went back out for the night. There's something to be said about the feeling you get pulling off to the side of the road, waiting for a rival racer that you've been looking for to finally come up around the corner and then challenge him to a race. You feel like a badass just sitting there, stuck in your prey. Now, there has been a Tokyo Xtreme Racer game since this one. When it came to America, it was actually called Import Tuner Challenge. So if you like the concept of this game but you can't get past the graphics, I would recommend checking that out. It doesn't have as many courses to drive on, and there's not as much attention to detail, but it's still a solid game and I would totally recommend it. With more tuning and customization you could possibly ask for out of a racing game, and offering a unique experience that no other racing game really offers, there's no wonder why it's my top 3 racing games of all time. Number 2! Forza Horizon on Xbox 360. If I had to describe this game in one word, it would be beautiful. How's the graphics? Beautiful. How is the handling? Beautiful. How's the music? Beautiful. It's amazing how everything just seems to come together, like everything's on the same page. The music complements the setting is perfect for the racing. It's all just flawless. When this game first came out, I had actually recently lost my job, and I'd played this game for about a solid month before I found work again. So this game really helped me relax and not stress out too much. Drifting down a canyon and a skyline while the day shifted to night while listening to Nero, Porter Robinson, or Skrillex, there was something just really tranquil about the whole experience. Not to mention the hours and hours you could spend on customizing just a single car. Just like in Forza fashion, the customization and upgrade system is ridiculous. My only complaint, if any, is that the story really never seemed to go anywhere. They had an opening sequence, introduced you to some characters, and then you never see them again. Even after you become the king of the festival, there's no ending cutscene or anything. I mean, they could have at least had a cutscene of me looking over the canyon like, yeah, I'm the fucking shit. But no, there's nothing. Nothing even really seems to happen with Alice Hart. I mean, look at her. She's eyeballing us hardcore. She really wants the D. Do we ever get to hit that? Like, what happens? Maybe we get to find out what happens to some of these characters in Forza Horizon 2, but I don't have an Xbox One, so I haven't got a chance to play Forza Horizon 2 yet. And yes, I know that there is a 360 version of Forza Horizon 2, but I don't want to play a watered-down version of one of my favorite racing games. Just assume that if I had played Forza Horizon 2 and it was better than Forza Horizon 1, Forza Horizon 2 would be in the slot. Also, thanks Japan for your hard work on those lewd anime waifu paint jobs. Keep up the good work. A quick recap before we get to number 1. Number 10, Burnout Revenge. Number 9, FZero X. Number 8, Sega Revo. Number 7, Extreme G Racing Association. Number 6, Rush 2049. Number 5, Blur. Number 4, Midnight Club Los Angeles. Number 3, Tokyo Xtreme Racer 3. Number 2, Forza Horizon. And now, number 1. Need for Speed Underground 2. This game came out November 9th, 2004, over 10 years ago, and it still holds up today. Everyone remembers it for its ridiculous customization, but I think a lot of people forget how much variety there was in this game. Aside from your typical race events like Sprint and Circuit, they also had Drag, Drift, and Outrun. Outrun is one of my favorites. It would take place in the open world where you would challenge another racer by flashing your lights at them. Instead of having a checkpoint on a map that both of you would have to race to, whoever was in first would control which direction you guys went next. Do your best to get a certain distance away from him, lose him, and you win. Drift had you trying to get the biggest combo by connecting all your drifts into one big drift while getting as close to the wall as possible to boost your points. But hit the wall and you lose all your points. Drag, I feel, is one of the more unappreciated modes in the game. There was so much more to it than just timing a shift. You also had to draft, dodge traffic, and know when to properly use your NOS. The mode and concept itself is really simple, but there's so much management going on. I remember more than a few races where I was going to win, and then I lost just before the finish line because I was so concentrated on shifting and dodging traffic, I didn't even notice that my engine was about to blow. Funny story, when I was in the Marines and MOS training, I was talking to one of my superiors about Need for Speed Underground 2, and he said his Toyota Supra could smoke my Honda Civic. Unfortunately for him, I had brought my Xbox memory card with me, and it wasn't even close. I straight murdered him. He was pretty salty after. That's one of the things I loved about this game, is that you could customize any car to be viable.
Now I get that not everybody would really appreciate the customization in this game. Like, personally, I might not really necessarily like spinners or turning my Honda Civic into a puppy that's excited that I'm home, but it's nice to know that I have the option. Also, customizing your trunk is really badass. I think that's pretty awesome. Look, I got 4 TVs and some subwoofers and neon lights in my trunk. I can totally play video games wherever I want. It's badass.
The story is even more paper thin than you probably remember it, continuing the story 6 months after the first game, which doesn't make a lot of sense because at the end of Underground 1 they made it seem like it was a daydream. But they even mention how you beat Eddie, who is the antagonist of the first game. Anyway, you're a badass racer on top of the world when a shady guy calls you up with a shady deal. You decline, he takes you out, and to get back at him you need to win races. I'll be the first to admit that the story is stupid, but even if it's a stupid story, it's a driving force to keep you playing to see what happens at the end. Considered by most to be the best Need for Speed game ever made, and considering the occult following that it's built for itself over the past 10 years, I have no idea why EA never made an Underground 3. But if they ever did make an Underground 3, it would have a lot of hype to live up to. With a massive amount of customization and a variety of modes to keep things fresh and fun, I'm always down to visit Bayview again. And that's why it's my #1 best racing game of all time.
Thanks so much for watching my top 10 racing games of all time. Told myself I wasn't allowed to shave until after I finished this video. Anyway, here's some honorable mentions. Did you like my list? Did you hate my list? Think you know everything? Then follow me on Twitter and tell me how wrong I was. Or Facebook. Or Instagram. You can follow me anywhere. Or just in the comments. That's what the comment section's for. Tell me what your favorite racing game was. Tell me how wrong I was and how bad a taste I have in video games. You know, whatever makes you feel good about yourself. Or you could like, subscribe, or not. I don't care. I don't owe you anything. Also, I have a Twitch.
Shut up.
Slip into a Slim Jim! Oh, yeah! When it's ripped my shirt. Hulkamania's running wild, brother! Oh, yeah! Pot stickers?